I'm Stephanie. Welcome to my channel. This is where I talk about all things bookish, and today I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently and talking about the 24 books that are on my to-be-read pile for 2024. Now, some of these are carryovers from 2023 that I just didn't have time to get to, but these are the 24 books that I am most looking forward to reading in this year. So coming in at number 1, we have Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing that name. This was one of my top to-be-read books for 2023, and for some reason or other, it just kept getting pushed back, or by the time I was ready to read it, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure I'm really in the mood for something that's spooky. So very much looking forward to getting this one off my list, as I have heard amazing things about this one, so I have really high hopes. Might read this in January, otherwise, honestly, I might end up saving it for October spooky season, but I might also not have the willpower to wait that long since I've already waited a year to read this. Next up on the list is also a carryover from 2023, and that is Look Closer by David Ellis. I was really hoping I was going to get to this one over the Christmas holiday. I just had a few other books that were more Christmassy reads, even though they ended up being kind of disappointed, so I'm really upset that I didn't swap those out for this. Again, I have also seen amazing things about this on Bookstagram. People are raving about what a great book this is, so very excited to get into this one in 2024. Next up, we have The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda. I'm a huge Megan Miranda stan. I think I read 3 or 4 of hers in 2023, and I have no reason to stop that trend going into 2024. Absolutely love her works, even though I know they can be a little formulaic. I still love them, so I'm very much looking forward to The Girl from Widow Hills. I also think I have Such a Quiet Place, and I'm sure if she has anything else coming out in 2024, that is also going to be added to my to-be-read pile. If there's any Book of the Month picks that feature her as an author, definitely going to be buying those as well. Next, we have The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. McMahon is one of my favorite authors just because she writes such great atmosphere. I can't put her books down. The Winter People, I had to keep reading, even though the plot I kind of felt was going a little off the rails. The atmosphere just sucks you in. You feel so tense. I feel like I'm right in the story with her characters. I just absolutely love her work. I've also seen great things about this one. I have 3 or 4 of McMahon's other works still on my to-be-read shelf, but this is the one that I am most looking forward to. I'm sure I will read much more by McMahon in 2024, but this is the one that I absolutely have to get read this year. Next up, we have Vampires of El Norte, or El Norte, by Isabel Cañas. This is another one that has been hyped all over the place. I obviously bought it from Bookstagram. I obviously bought it from Book of the Month. This was definitely an add-on to one of my books. I think it might have been my September or October one to get me in the mood for spooky season. I mean, vampires. I've heard great things about this, so I'm just really excited to get into it. I don't think I'm going to hold on to this one for October, just because I have heard some reviews about it's not super spooky, so this one might be a more spring or summertime read, but still really excited to finally get this one off my to-be-read shelf. Alright, next we have No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I have really enjoyed the works that I've read by Marshall. I think she's a really good author. I think she plots her stuff really well. She writes really interesting and intriguing characters, as well as believable characters. I've noticed one of my nitpicks with a lot of books that I've read, especially in 2023, is that these characters are supposed to be mid to late 20s, even early to mid 30s. And they read 15-year-olds, and I think Marshall really makes sure that her characters read age appropriate, and I really appreciate that. I also really like her spooky settings and her spooky atmospheres, so really excited to continue to read more by her. I do have at least, I think it's These Fleeting Shadows by her on my to-be-read shelf. I might have one more, just because once I find an author I like, I can't help myself, and I end up buying a few. So this was my December, official Book of the Month pick. So very excited to get into this year. If you have any other recommendations of Kate's work, please let me know, because again, hopefully this turns out to be a really good read. All right, up next is another author that I absolutely love. I've really enjoyed a lot of her work, so of course I have to continue reading her in 2024, and that is Simone St. James, and this is Silence for the Dead. I mean, just look at that cover. That cover is gorgeous. Very excited to get into this. I think St. James does really good ghost stories when she commits. The only book of hers that I didn't really enjoy was the Book of Cold Cases, just because I don't think she leaned into like the ghostly stuff as much as she could have. When she goes into it, like in All the Broken Girls, or not All the Broken Girls, just The Broken Girls and The Haunting of Maddie Clare, fantastic reads. The Sundown Motel is another one. Simone St. James, when she commits to writing a ghost story, I absolutely love it. So I have really high hopes for this one in 2024. All right, next up, we have another really hyped up book from this year is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I actually just started reading McFadden. I read The Coworker in November, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, there were some nitpicks that I had with it, but overall, I think she was a really strong author. So I am really excited to get into this one, as, again, this one was hyped all over Bookstagram, so I have high hopes that this one does not let me down. All right. Next up, we have The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I've read 2 of Ruth Ware's books, and I think she's a really good writer. I have heard wonderful things about this one. I also have One by One by Ruth Ware sitting on my to-be-read shelf. This one I just have heard better reviews about, so I'm really hopeful that this is a fantastic read for 2024. Like I just said, I have other books of hers on my to-be-read shelf, so hopefully 2024 is filled with great authors like Ruth Ware. All right, next up we have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. So I read All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham in 2023. Really enjoyed it. I thought she did a really great job of giving us an unreliable narrator, but without pushing the boundaries of realism with her. Like, I understood why she was an unreliable character. I really appreciated that. I also just really liked the tension. And I liked that the story made sense with the clues that we were given. It wasn't just like someone else out in the wings was the real perpetrator of all the weird things that was going on. The breadcrumbs were there if you looked for them, and they tied up really nicely. So I am very excited to check out A Flicker in the Dark, as I have also seen really good reviews of this one. And again, I just enjoyed Willingham's work, so excited to continue with that. I just noticed, and I'm really excited that I have a lot of women authors on this list of authors or works that I want to continue reading in 2024. So yay, ladies, go us. All right, next up we have The Intern by Michelle Campbell, one of my Book of the Month picks. Don't remember which month, but this one obviously did not get read in 2023. Has a very intriguing premise. The funny thing is, I picked this as I have a work in progress that has kind of a similar premise. So I just want to see how Michelle Campbell made it work out and how she plotted her stuff. I know that our characters are a little bit different, and obviously mine's not even published. So very excited to get into that and see just, again, how well she plotted it out and how it all turns out in the end. All right, next up, we have The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So I bought this right when I bought How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I did enjoy that, even though I do think it stretched on a little bit too long and it had a really muddy middle and a really slow beginning. But overall, I really appreciated Hendrix's writing. I appreciated his creativity. So very excited to get in this. This is definitely one that I will be saving for September or October, but it is going to be read this year. All right, next up, we have Yinka, Where Is Your Husband by Lizzie Damilola Blackburn. So this one I bought for the exact same reason that I got Really Good, actually, by Monica Heisey. Just has a really good sounding premise of a woman coming into her own, finding herself, potentially finding love, and just figuring out who she really is. Please don't disappoint me as much as Really Good actually did. I mean, the cover is super cute. I have really high hopes. I think I did look at some Goodreads reviews before I bought this, and typically if I'm not loving the way Goodreads is skewing. I will not buy it. So I have really high hopes for this one as a read in 2024. All right, next we have Alex Finley's Every Last Fear. I swear I entered like 3 Goodreads giveaways to get a copy of this book. Never got it, so I got this from the book outlet. So it was like $7 or $8, and I felt that was worth it. I've had my eye on this one for a long time. I've had my eye on Alex Finley for a long time as an author to check out. I must have gotten this after spooky season, otherwise I feel like this probably would have been like a good read right around that time. I'll probably end up reading this in like February or March so I can finally get it off my 2024 to be read shelf. All right, next up we have Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. If you're not new around here, I absolutely adore Wendy Walker. I think she is such a brilliant writer. I really enjoy her characters, her plots. I just think she is a fantastic author. I always get sucked right into her stories and I'm compelled to stay up super late and finish them. So I have high hopes that Emma in the Night is going to be the same way. I think I got this one mid-2023, so it makes sense why it did not get off my list. Kind of like some of the other authors on this list, I have 3 Wendy Walker books sitting on my to be read shelf, but this is the one that I am putting priority on in 2024. Next up, we have The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. So I read Reckless Girls in the summer of 2023, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really fun read. I mean, you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. I took it on a vacation, and it was the perfect vacation read. So I have high hopes for The Villa. I liked Hawkins, and I even liked her even after I found out she writes under another pen name, and I did not like that book at all. So I think under the Rachel Hawkins name, she's a fantastic author, so I'm very excited to check this out. Given the cover is like springy and summery, this might be a June read. I might save it for my birthday month, just so that I know I'm going to have a hopefully good read to look forward to that month. All right, next up, we have The Nesting by C.J. Cook. So this will be my second work by Cook. I've read The Lighthouse Witches by her. I really enjoyed that. It was a very different take on like magic and what's going on. I also really liked her characters. I thought her plots were well done. She really writes good atmosphere. I can totally picture her settings as well. So very excited to get into this. Plus, like, just look at the cover. You know you're in for a good time when it looks like this. All in, I'm just really excited for another CJ Cook book this year. And I think that will really help set 2024 apart from 2023, where I had some kind of disappointing reads, as I fully expect not to be disappointed with this. Next, we have My Sweet Girl by Amanda Giatisa. And apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name. I read You're Invited by Giatisa this year. I really liked that. I had a few minor setbacks with that one, just especially in like the setting. I couldn't really picture everything perfectly in my mind, but I thought she did really cool characters. I thought she plotted things really well. I also liked her kind of mixed media format, especially in You're Invited. There were like police transcripts. It just really made the story interesting and kind of got away from like our character having to eavesdrop or finagle their way into situations that wouldn't really happen, as the book was told in first person. So I have really high hopes that I will also enjoy this one because I enjoyed her first one. Next, we have All the Broken People by Leah Conan. I have read 2 other works by Conan, and I really enjoyed her stuff. This is the first one that I think I actually had to go out and buy myself. I think the other 2 came from my Book Drop subscription, the Books for Coffee, so thrillers. I think she writes really interesting characters who you don't really know if you should trust them or like what's going on, and you kind of just have to wait for those reveals to happen. So very excited for this one. I think I also got this from the book outlet, so excited to read this since it came at a cheaper cost. And again, I already know I like Conan's work, So I'm fully expecting a good time with this. All right. Next up, we have Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. So this one's kind of funny. So typically, if I don't like an author's first book, I will give them one more try just to make sure that it wasn't like a wrong book, wrong time, or maybe that just wasn't the right plot for me. And I bought this before I read the first book I had by Rachel Harrison, and unfortunately now I wish I had waited. Again, I'm gonna give her a second try, but I read Cackle in October because it's about witches. It made my list of top 10 worst reads of 2023, but I had already bought this. I'm gonna give her a try and just see if maybe that was just a bad book of hers and maybe I'll really love this, or I will find out that Rachel Harrison is just not the author and her works are not for me. So here we go. Next up, we have 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. This will be my first foray into Peter Swanson's work. I've seen him all over Bookstagram. I've seen a lot of people recommend and rate this really highly. Very excited for this. I also think I have 9 lives by him sitting on my to-be-read shelf. But this is such a small little guy that, like, I'm really excited to get through this. I imagine this is going to be like a 1 or 2 night read. And the premise of this one sounds really interesting. So really hoping that Peter Swanson might become a new go-to author for me. As you can see, I already have plenty of authors that I've got a few of their works sitting on my shelf, him included. But I'm really hopeful for this one as I've heard really great things about it and his work in general. All right. Next up, we have Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa C. In 2023, this just kept making each like month's hopefuls. So finally I stopped doing it because I wasn't getting to it. I am committing to reading this in the spring of 2024 at some point, as it sounds really great. It's a little bit different than what I normally read, and it will be a very welcome break from some of these disappointing thrillers that I ended 2023 on. So it'll be a nice little change of pace. And again, I've heard wonderful things, so very excited to finally read this one as I wasn't able to in 2023. All right, next we have When I'm Dead by Hannah Morrissey. This was one of my Book of the Month picks. This is going to be my first foray into Morrissey's work, but again, on Bookstagram, I've seen really great reviews about this, so really excited to give her work a try and see what's what. All right, my last read on my to-be-read list for 2024 is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am very aware that I am late to the game on this book. I'm trying to avoid reading too much about it as I kind of want to go into it a little bit blind. Again, I've seen it everywhere on Bookstagram, well aware I got it from Book of the Month. I mean, it's obviously a very popular book. Taylor Jenkins Reid is very well known, so I'm very excited to finally dive into their work, see what this is all about, and maybe find a new go-to author for me, and yeah, finally get a book that has been on my 2023 to-be-read pile a lot longer than it probably should have been, especially since I feel like the hype for this book has kind of plateaued at this point, but excited to read this in 2024. All right, so those are my picks for the 2024 books that are on my to-be-read shelf for 2024. If you have recommendations for other ones that I should check out, or books from the authors that are on my list, but maybe different titles that I should prioritize, please let me know by leaving a comment below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching.